In 1654, Groseilliers and his brother-in-law built the first European trading post on Lake Superior. In 1659, the brothers returned to Montreal along with thousands of furs. They planned to set up a trading post along Hudson's Bay, which would reduce the cost of transporting furs from the Northwest to Europe. They hoped that King Charles would sponsor them.
In 1665, they presented their plan to him, and he agreed to sponsor them. After 3 years of preparation, they set out in 2 ships for the journey, but Radisson's ship was forced to turn back off the coast of Ireland.
The ship that Groseilliers was on continued on the journey and made its way to the southern shore of James Bay.
They named Rupert River after their main sponsor, Prince Rupert, later known as Rupert's Land. From 1668 to 1669, they traded furs from tribe to tribe and then returned back to England. Rupert's Land included northern Quebec, Ontario, all of Manitoba, most of Saskatchewan, southern Alberta, a portion of the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, parts of Minnesota, and North Dakota.
In its charter, the Hudson Bay Company was granted a monopoly over lands in the Hudson's Bay drainage area. By 1685, trading forts were operating, each fort being commanded by a chief factor and his council of officers.
The Hudson's Bay Company needed help from the First Nations people because they are the ones who knew the land. The Hudson's Bay Company depended on the First Nations people to bring the furs to the forts. They had an agreement with each other, and they showed this by giving gifts and having annual trading sessions. Between 1688 and 1763, Britain and France were frequently at war for territory and the power in Europe. They both wanted North America's abundant and natural resources.
In the early 1600s to early 1700s, the French and British fought constantly. One of these fights included French trying to destroy the Hudson's Bay Company's forts along the Hudson Bay.
Many French traders took First Nations women as wives. Métis people are born from French and First Nations people. They hoped that marriage between them would encourage First Nations women to adopt French language, religion, and culture. First Nations women accompanied explorers and fur traders on their long journeys and provided food, prepared furs for travel, and gathered supplies for canoe repairs. Some of the women acted as guides on the journeys. Women played a big role in the fur trade. For example, the women raised families, made moccasins, knitted snowshoes, collected berries and other food, and they tended gardens. Women also became translators and intermediaries between their communities.
What does the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? Happy, happy, happy ho. Happy, happy, happy ho. Happy, happy, happy ho. What the fox say?
That's a burp again.